All right, y'all. Welcome back to Anime Savants. And this week, I am Ivanka.
This week I am Melia Rage.
Oh, okay.
Was playing some
Um,
Strive earlier in the week.
is Biking out yet?
Not yet. Can't
Oh,
wait though.
I feel like they
Can't
announced
wait.
it like a little bit a minute ago. Okay. We talked about Sabi Cooley last week. So let's go ahead and get that one out the way. Um, I enjoyed it, and it's going in the exact direction that I thought it was going to go in. And yeah, like I don't know. What I'm seeing is first of all, it's getting like nothing. People are paying it dust on YouTube as far as like the interest. And then
Mm-hmm.
it's something that like Joe had mentioned also, which is so funny. So when we were talking about the PVs, and Joe said that there was a lot of like stop animation and still animation during the action scenes. And I was like, oh yeah, I mean, I guess. But then I actually had someone come into my comments and say, like, oh, the like still animation is turning me off and da 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 da. And I'm like, it's the second episode. Like, bruh, like, do you see what they're already doing? And you're saying that, like, oh, I don't like the still and stuff. I don't like the stop animation, but it's like, but it's still good. So that means when we get an episode where they like blow the fucking budget,
Yeah.
then
I
it's
don't,
gonna
and
be
I don't even really
phenomenal.
get that. Like I barely noticed the places where that happens. There's a lot of you know what this reminds me of? It reminds me of when you talk to people these days about like video games, and they'll say, oh, the graphics in this game suck. And obviously I'm not expecting everybody to be like a connoisseur, right? But a lot of times what they mean is not that the fidelity is bad. They're usually talking about the art style, because there's a lot of games, movies, anime where there's a very specific art style that they're working with that either is so generic that you start to notice quality issues very clearly,
Yeah.
or on the other hand, they're making use of whatever those qualities of the style are to do something interesting visually, even if the budget is really huge or the budget's really tiny. And I feel like Bisco actually is doing everything you want. They're using a lot of special effects. There's actually pretty good like framing and cinematography. They're making like where it's fun, they'll do some of the, cheaper, flat panel stuff. But then like in episode 2, that shot of the when they do the flashback and they're looking, it's a fight between Bisco, Jabi, and the escargot plane. And there's a part of that where like that you see the plane for the first time and they pan across the body to get to the snail head, and like that I think kind of falls in line with what people are talking about, but it's so distinctive and interesting. And then literally like 10 seconds later he's shooting an arrow and holding the plane, and it looks
Yeah.
great. It looks
Yeah.
fantastic, and they're using a
Yeah.
lot of like of it's a I never would have thought about this mixture of CGI, sort of as they were saying, like still images, flat images, and just traditional animation and special effects. Like it all, they're doing something interesting here. Whether it vibes with you, you
Yeah.
know, you get your
I
own mileage,
agree.
but yeah.
I'm enjoying everything that I've gotten so far, story wise, music wise, characterization wise, action wise. So I'm kind of just like, are y'all? It maybe are people like overloaded, so they're just looking for a reason to not like hop on? Because from what I can tell, I think this is gonna be a good ride.
Oh
So
yeah.
I'm just like, I don't know what y'all are watching,
It's
but
the
it must not
mushroom
be the
stuff, I
same thing.
think. I think it's like when the mushrooms pop
Really?
out, the way they do that effect, maybe that's what people are really attaching
Oh,
to.
because we
But
don't see
even,
it like
yeah,
grow.
it kind of like they'll do a thing where the arrow goes in and it'll pop up, and they'll, sometimes they'll use
But that's
what
kind of
appears.
wasted effect because there's so many mushrooms. So it's
I
kind of just
know.
like,
That's why
oh,
I
come on,
find this
y'all.
complaint to be a little, I don't want to say this, but I wonder if the people who are repeating it actually have watched even a full episode or two, because that's not
Doubt
the
it.
takeaway I even got from episode 1. Like in episode 1, I wasn't sitting there thinking like, oh man, they're really cheaping out on the animation. Like the aesthetic and the style that they've adopted for the series stands, like it doesn't look like anything else. You can't say, like, I mean, I get some vibes. Like I think Milo reminds me of a character that would be in one of those like Danganronpa inspired like
Really?
series. I think like his proportions, his face, the little markings, everything else. But like even in the episode 2 when Pawu shows up on the bike and she has the showdown with Bisco at the end, that is a very traditional action scene that was put together at a pretty high level. You've got like all before it starts, you get the head-on shot of Pawu on the bike coming at the camera. It looks fantastic. You can tell exactly what her character is, where things are
Yeah.
headed. You get the entrance onto the roof scene where she's like sliding, the him using the mushroom powers, launching the bike, coming down. The slash to him, he flies through the like hits the part of the building like on the top. Big effects explosion of the dust, then the shot of the arrow, him knocking the arrow, putting it through her sword, all that stuff. I mean, I don't know what more you want out of a series, like unless you're talking about Demon Slayer level, really expensive special effects. It was very effective. Everything about that was very effective. So I enjoy just looking at an episode of Sabi Cooley Bisco. I think it looks great. And then on top of that, the music is really good. The characters are wacky, but in a way where when serious things happen, it's not totally like weightless. They did do
Yeah.
some like off screen, there's some like subtle comedy in there, like for example the scene where so Bisco leaves Milo, they're in the underground area, and he goes to go fight the whatever, what do they call them? And so there's like the watch, and then there's the governor's
I have no
troops with
idea
the
what those the hats thing. Yeah, I don't.
yeah, the ones wearing the bunny hats, which are funny. They are deliberately like very macabre, but in a funny way. So he has a fight with them, but it's all off camera. So the next time you see him, there's like piles of bodies. Like there's a guy whose body is like on a electrical wire. Like that's comedy, right? Like it's clearly comedy.
And we don't really need to see like over aggressive like action right now. It's kind of just like things are moving. We're getting a lot of action, and the stuff that needs to be focused on, I feel like is being focused on well. Like that supporting character with the pink hair, it's kind of just like, okay, you're gonna be comedic relief. You're gonna eventually like join the
probably
crew or
join them.
some
Yeah,
shit.
she's funny.
Yeah.
I liked her character from when she entered in the first episode, just falling on the ground, like
Yeah.
and then her trying to negotiate with Bisco after he defeats her, which again we didn't see, but she's like begging for her life, but in a funny way. And that's the thing that maybe what I've been missing in a lot of the shows the last couple of seasons is just charm, right? Like that's really what I think Bisco has going for it, even though it's like really weird and it is doing some good traditional things. It's just a charming kind of a show with likable characters that fit archetypes, but they're
Yeah.
not they don't feel like characters I've necessarily seen before, and it's like I'm interested in how they're all going to bounce off of each other. Like when Pawu and Bisco go at it, like that they're setting up that conflict, but you kind of know even from the story that maybe they shouldn't be enemies with each other. It's kind of a misunderstanding because she thinks that he's harmed her brother, and
The
you can
brother's
tell that
dead.
or the brother is dead, right? She's in a rage, and when they get out of there, I'm sure the thing is she's going to believe like, oh, he kidnapped my brother, and it's going to be like one of those things. You know what I mean? Like
it looks like she's definitely not gonna lay up on their asses.
No,
like it looks like she's gonna be, and it also looks like they're not gonna stay in that city, which
no, right.
I'm also glad about. So
yeah, and but even though that beat is coming, because the characters are charming, you're looking forward to it. You're like, oh, it's gonna, you want them all to be on the same page, but they're not. Also, the fact that Jabi and Pawu both have this like rusting syndrome, whatever it is, so they're both terminal, is a great sort of like mirror, because it allowed Milo to like understand that Bisco's kind of like a good guy. Likewise, in the flashback, Jabi is like, man, I took this like sweet kid and I've turned him into this like, raging fighter, and he kind of is regretful of the fact that he's done this.
Yeah, and honestly, now that I feel like Jabi keeps saying that he's going to die, I feel like I was like, I don't know if you're gonna actually
they'll
die
save
now.
it they'll save it for something like much more which again is great.
Yeah,
It's good basic storytelling because it's like it's
As
tragic.
far as the storytelling goes, I also appreciate all the hints and how they introduced everything in the episode. As far as we got quick rundowns of like Bisco's background. The I thought that it was very interesting that they didn't just like stop and explain the weaponry and shit like that. It was just like it's a snail cargo plane, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
yeah, like
And before it
great
was like
that.
the hippo tanks.
Yeah, the hippo tank. It's just like great. That's really all I need. Like right now, I'm pretty sure there's gonna be an episode where something's gonna happen to the crab, and they're gonna have to find someone, and then we'll get like a
Right,
breakdown of
right.
it. It's like I see where things could possibly go, but I'm also just like, okay, but the whole package, I'm like, this shit's still good. It's still good.
Yeah, and I think there's it's a weird world that they've introduced, and there's a lot of like cryptic and odd shit that's in it. But their method of storytelling, and there's a lot of exposition in both episodes, or it kind of has to be. But their method of storytelling is to try to find different characters to tell the story in out of order. So like for example, like we're learning a lot about like the politics and the relationships between various characters and what the motivations of the different groups are. But like even the idea that they do it out of order. So you'll start the episode in the present, something will happen, Bisco will have like the conversation with Milo, and then right when the action is really about to ramp up with him, they'll switch back to another view that's them in the past trying to come in, and you're learning each time they're doing it. It's not just a change the scenery, they're adding some context, and you are learning more information about what's going on and how everybody got there. And just when a scene kind of runs its course, like the energy level is kind of peaked, they just switch back to something completely different, which is a very good balancing trick that a lot of shows frankly should do more of. If you had more confidence in your characters and confidence in your story, you could move things around and be a little bit more non-linear. But most stories aren't that well told, so they can't support that kind of thing. So I have so far been, I was impressed in episode 1 because they got a lot done and still made me want to come back. Episode 2 started to like show that the series has interesting ideas to explore. The characters at least are two-dimensional, which is good enough. And there's some good action and good animation, and music. So then the question is, it looks like in the third episode, we're gonna get the journey part of the story going. And for a one core, it'll be interesting to see kind of like what's the direction they want to take that part of the story. Because I think maybe it'll be sort of like town. We'll visit a couple of places over the next 9 or so episodes, and I want to see other scenery. I want to kind of see what this world has to offer, because even that shot when they were at night before they got into the country they were in, and you have like that hand that's like sticking out of the desert, and they're like taking shelter under it and talking to the crab. That's interesting to me. I want to know what's going on there. So hopefully we'll get some more of that as the series goes forward.
All right. That's all I got for that one.
Mhm.
So let's go ahead to Vanitas, which is the other one. So what do you think about the return?
I can tell you I have no idea what's going on,
Okay,
like at
okay,
all.
yeah. Same
I have
here.
I thought I did for the first 5 to 10 minutes, and then they went somehow back in time, or not. Maybe it's just like an
So the
illusion.
malnomen, I think that's what someone
Yeah.
said. So I think it's similar to when they were in the doctor's workshop, and like that beast or whatever had like its own dimension inside of its mouth or
Oh,
something. So then
okay. I didn't think
maybe
about that.
this is like a similar thing, but as opposed to, you know, them actually jumping back in time, I think it's kind of just like a spatial kind of distortion or some kind of shit like that, where like it seems as though history's been being replayed. But also, first of all, there's so many questions. There's so much new shit that just happened. They're introducing new characters. They got
Yeah.
regular characters that are just going fucking nuts. And then they're introducing new villains, but then are they villains? And also, what I think the show is going towards is like, well, eventually we're going to start seeing people who can control the fucking curse, like without like needing Vanitas's like, cure or whatever and shit like that. And that there might be like two different factions there, just like, I'm taking advantage of the curse and I'm over here just living with the curse, minding my business. And which one are they both going to be labeled as antagonists? And if so, can both of them like be handled at the same time? Or are they're definitely not allying with the Baron guy. And
no.
My biggest questions though were, why is Jean there? Where'd she come from?
Right, out of nowhere. Out of nowhere.
But then also when she was doing her little monologue to Noe, her eye was glowing. So I'm like, I feel like the Baron's curse is like basically got you on like full on propaganda mode, and you just gonna do whatever the fuck he says. But then the ending, well, first of all, the new Paladin, I great. I love.
They got right to that shit. They were just like, all right, here we go.
Like, literally, we're like, this is a ruthless person. They don't give a fuck about anybody. It doesn't matter which side you are. They're just here to fucking kill. But then also they're not a villain, but they are. So it's just like, okay, that's great. But the whole end with, what is the name? Nanai or Net, whatever the hell, charlatans thing.
Right.
When that whole sequence started, I was just like, I have no idea.
I hope that they explain what in God's name is going on. I think in my head, so they had a episode 0, which I did not wind up watching, even though there was some new or preview footage at the back end to figure out what's going on. I entered this episode just assuming like, okay, we're gonna pick up on like that sort of dodgy ending that we had in the end of season 1, where Noe gets infected but then kind of forgets about it, and we already knew they were going to go investigate the situation with the beast. So I was like, yeah, I can wrap my mind around like that part of the plot. We're gonna go to some new places and meet some new people, and the first part of the episode is actually pretty slow. Like they recap a little bit of the last scene before they leave, and then they the group, so that's Noe and Vanitas and like the half vampires, all get on the train and then a cart. So it's like 10 minutes is spent kind of them talking through what they're intending to do. But the last like 10 minutes of this episode is all over the fucking place, because it starts with them walking in the woods. Noe immediately goes missing. So it's like so it was a little joke. They're like, oh, you take your eyes off him, he disappeared. That man was out within seconds. And then from that point onward, I promise you, I have no idea what's going on. The only thing that made sense was the fight with Astolfo, between Astolfo and Noe, but that character is so insane off rip that like I don't feel like only thing I learned out of that scene was that Astolfo thinks that the other paladin that we met, or whatever they were,
whatever his name is,
he doesn't like him. So like we already knew there was some disagreement in that organization, but this guy as an antagonist, like he is just all id and like no thoughts. So I don't know if it really
enjoyed that, like he's an Astolfo that can also still be like is androgynous also. So
true.
I was like, oh, ha ha, fate, ha ha ha.
They love it. Yes, of course, of course. And then the bit with the beast and what may or may not have been a flashback, I remain to open-minded as to like what that could be. I tried not to like theory craft my way through it, because this is a series that does at least invest in the world building enough that we'll probably get an answer to like what it is. But the introduction at the very end of those sort of two new, maybe they're antagonists, maybe they're just the people that they've got to help in this episode after Vanitas kind of loses his book, I thought was very interesting, because I kind of want to see what he can do minus this gimmick that he's had the whole first season of, that magic. Like I want his character to kind of do more this season. So altogether, I think it was, for a first episode, it gave us a lot. It did advance the story, and it's gone in a direction I did not expect. So that, I don't have a lot else to say about it, because everything else, the music, the visuals, all that other stuff is just as good as it was last season.
I agree. As far as the pacing goes for the episode, I really appreciate that they didn't waste time in the town. We didn't even get to the fucking town.
They didn't even go to the town. They just
literally said, "Boom," and then just like non-stop action, like chaos until the end of the episode. So I thought that was a great way to bring the series back in and basically say, no, we have not forgotten what you niggas came here for in the first place. Like, absolutely fucking not. So yeah, we'll just see. So what else have you watched? What else did you watch?
I watched. Oh, well, I mean, like, yeah, of course, it's always gonna be what was enjoyed. What is this? I watched Realist Hero. I know we're not really covering that week to week this time, but I just felt like that was a good. This is an episode that I think would polarize a fair number of people, just because they literally spent the whole time talking and doing politics.
Oh, well, that's what they do best. In
one room, even though they split the scene up to visualize some of the stuff that was happening. The long and short of it is that the main characters and the Empire are trying to find a way to agree to return the territory, but get a massive like payout for it in order to keep with the laws. But there was a really interesting thing right at the end of the episode where the thing about Realist Hero is that there's never really a lot of intrigue until now, because the main character hears a name and then has like a moment that I have not seen in the series yet, where like his brain literally flip-flops and you can tell like something has erased this out of his memory. And right away I'm like, oh, there's actually something interesting happening here that may have to do with the rules of the world and how it interacts with heroes. So I finally have some intrigue to go with, and we got the name of the antagonist for theoretically the Demon King. So there was that part. Actually, there was a bit that you should probably watch this. So a big part of the conversation in this episode was about, of all things, I would call it like racism, but like it dealt with in a way that I think has made the most sense of anything I've seen in a sort of like these like fantasy slice of life allegorical shows. So here's the premise. The premise is that all the characters in the world differentiate between animals and demons. So the demons are the bad guys. We haven't really met them yet. They all kind of live up in the north. It's the instigating event of the series before we arrive as viewers, is that the demons showed up, invaded, beat back the humans, took a big chunk of territory, and then there's been kind of a stalemate ever since. The thing that really took up a lot of energy here was the fact that, and I'm forgetting the main character's name, but he basically says, listen, all right, we're having an official conversation. I need y'all to stop recording what I'm about to say, because what I'm about to say could cause a major incident. And I'm like, oh, this is interesting. Where are we going with this? So this is what he says. Everyone here, they know what a demon is. They know what an elf is. They know what a beast person is. Even to the point of like those like dragon newts. He brings them up. He's like, you all can tell these different species apart. And he starts asking them like, okay, what's the difference between a beast man and a this and a that? And then he asks a very good question, which is, okay, what's the difference between a beast man that has a much more animal-like face and a monster or a demon? And right away everybody is like, wait, what are you trying to get at? He's like, listen, wow. He's like, listen, in my world there are no demons, there are no monsters. It's just humans and then things that we classify as animals. An animal is basically anything that's not human. When I'm in this world, to me, there is no difference between what you guys are calling demons and monsters and a lot of the other groups of people that are here. And immediately, like, it's like a record scratch. Everybody flips out. They're like, oh my god, they're like, you can't if this were to be known, it would cause an international incident. Like, this is crazy. What are you talking about? And he's like, well, first of all, that's why I said to stop recording. But second of all,
you need to think about it.
Think about that for a minute. There are beastmen who have very, very animal-like features, but are disproportionate. And frankly, if you put them next to what you guys are calling a monster, like the only difference, right? The only differentiation is what you guys already know, like these sort of categories that you've placed things into. If you showed me a demon right now, I wouldn't be able to tell the difference between them and any of the other species that you're talking about. So where did this assumption come from that demons, monsters, and all these other races are inherently that much different? And they all kind of like calm down and they start thinking about it. And they're like, actually, it's kind of weird that none of us have thought of things in that way. And, you know, normally the way the series goes, it's all about like, oh, the main character is introducing like administrative or technological or philosophical or political ideas that are common in our world, but to them are an innovation and allow things to happen better. This is the first time they've really leaned into like the philosophical side of things. And I'm wondering if that's also a big part of what will ultimately resolve whatever core conflict is here. Not to say that like, oh, the demons are suddenly going to become friends, because listen, we're all just people at the end. I don't think that's where they're going with it, but it was very interesting to have a scene where you're examining prejudice and stereotyping and basic concepts of like in-group and out-group in a fantasy setting, but not one that's like, oh, that's racist and that is, you know what I mean? Like, it's very regular to have a racist character or a group, and they are deliberately set up as antagonistic and wrong because of their beliefs. This was just like, he wasn't even reading everybody. He was like, y'all have to understand that my perspective on your world is going to be completely different than whatever it is you guys are used to. And I thought that was a really good thing to be bringing up. So anyway, it's a pretty cool episode.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Well, I'm saving mine up for the 3s. So once that hits episode 3, gonna knock that little arc out. I'm actually really thinking about hitting the fucking print. What? Oh my God, I keep forgetting that damn show's name.
The Genius Prince Guide to Raising a Nation Out of Debt. Yeah.
I think I might hit him up too. And the only other thing I think I watched this week, which is still kind of technically part of last week, y'all, because these episodes are like really close. But just like old summer ranking, like, I mean, I can say it every week, but you know, you should watch old summer ranking if you're not watching old summer ranking. But like, yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah, I did watch both Genius Prince and Demon Slayer. As I have less to say about Demon Slayer because of how good it is. I mean, it's just a show that at this point is to me, if you are going to watch something, just watch Demon Slayer. You won't be upset. I don't know what camp you come from, but
seeing people are upset. I saw someone today said that they're tired of Netsuko being a get out of jail free card.
Nah, bro. If that's what they're feeling, then they never liked this series in the first place.
I mean, like, because where the fuck was she doing Rui? Like,
yeah, but also, you know that Nezuko is also a plot device. She's not just a get out of jail free card, if that's what you want to call it.
Well, I feel like she's actively part of like the development. Like, she's being developed also. It's not just like, oh, she's showing up, because the same thing with like her blood with the Rui thing. It's like, okay, you really, I can't really call it like a get out of jail free card.
It's just a feat from another character. It's, you know what's weird about it? It's like, I don't want to put this on bigger issues, but the idea that a woman is constantly saving a man may like
trigger.
Like when you watch a shonen and you are just a dumb, you know, normie off the streets, you're pretty much watching it to get some, you know, wish fulfillment and for your own ego, and you're kind of inserting yourself into the leads or the characters, and you're buying into the hype and all the cool moments, and there's a pattern that you expect to happen. The pattern goes something like the good guys meet a team of bad guys. The bad guys are strong and scary. The good guys initially are beaten back, but then they split up and they fight, and each each good guy overcomes a problem, the main character overcomes a challenge, beats the bad guy, and then they resolve the story and then move on to the next thing. The idea that our lead character gets help, and especially that help comes from an otherwise helpless woman, is a slight tweak on the usual formula, and it does happen several times over the course of the series, where Nezuko has a feat, and that feat is connected to her brother, who is the character she has the strongest emotional and plot connection to. So from a story continuity and consistency point of view, it makes perfect sense. It's, there's nothing unusual about that. In fact, you would expect that from Carrie. In fact, if Nezuko was a man and was just another male character in the series, I don't think we'd hear a lot about this, because it'll just be a story about two brothers who are helping each other overcome a fight. It's the fact that they do this duality of her being extremely weak and helpless and for sometimes, and then incredibly strong and overpowered in other moments, that I think really gets people, and they don't even understand what their brain is doing to them. They're just upset. They're just upset, but they don't get it, so I don't worry about them.
But other than them, I'm loving what the fuck they beat the Rui shit. Like, Ufotable is insane. When he stabbed homegirl's shit and she was like, he can't make this shit in 1 second. Yep. And then she goes, I was like, oh my fucking gorgeous. Do I know what's going on with Tanjiro and that shit? No. Do I care? No. Oh fuck. All I know is that this shit looks amazing. Tengen showing up in the last episode, just like coming from the side of the thing and just like slight amazing. And then homegirl talking shit, boom, your neck is
don't do it. Don't do it to yourself.
You're done. Your neck is done. And then the whole thing with the brother being part of that, and they're like, oh, we 2-1, and all that, and I'm just like, okay, just I don't give a fuck what you give to me, but just keep giving it to me. Like, it's Demon
Tengen is my favorite though.
Oh really? Of the Hashira?
I love me some goddamn Tengen, man. I've said this from jump.
I loved
he's my
it how
favorite
Homeboy
character.
got so mad when he mentioned 3 wives.
I know.
Like, 3 wives.
But he just, listen, all right? I'm not here to be a stereotypical individual. I'm just saying Tengen just man modes life. That's all it is.
And I love how Inosuke is trying to like emulate him now.
Yes.
I was just like, oh, this is bad. I was like, you niggas are fucking crazy. But
he's like a reverse Chad, because he's not like a manly man. He's muscly and he's big, but his attitude is very like carefree and exciting. He's not like your usual like, going
around telling everyone you're an alpha male.
Right. So I think he's still a Chad though, and like so I get behind this man, because he knows exactly what he's about. His wives are down for the cause,
even if they're weakest. For the one wife who's like, I'm horrible at fighting, but I'm a stand beside him. I was like,
they're just there for business. Like, what more do you want, man? And his abilities and his weapon is fucking cool. So like, bro.
Yeah, it didn't even occur to me that he could like use the blades as like nunchuck shit. I was like, bruh.
That's my man right there.
I didn't even think of that.
That's my man. Everybody was like, after a Demon Train, like, people's favorites were all over the place. I'm like, no, man. It's wait till you get to Tengen. Tengen will put his foot down. I was gonna say something else, but
I'm pretty sure he's gonna put it down, but okay.
Yeah. But he will solidify his place. But yeah, so I've been enjoying that. And I did watch Genius Prince, and I keep saying this again, that like comedy is hard, but like in 2 instances, well, actually all the shows that I'm really liking the most this season have incorporated different elements of comedy to make, to balance out whatever other content is in the show. So like, it's true for Demon Slayer. I mean, Demon Slayer actually has a fair amount of either intentional or unintentional comedy, but it's like, it's more asides. It's like, you'll have a character moment among the heroes, But I would argue that what Genius Prince is doing this season is creating comedy out of a much more like traditional, like situational comedy aspect.
Mm-hmm.
But then even in this episode, which I won't, since you're gonna watch it, we can come around and talk about it when we get to episode 3. They did the whole thing from episode 1, which I love, is have serious stuff, build up and backstory for the main characters that makes their feats make sense.
Yeah.
Comedic moments that are both like unintentional and intentional, and then absolutely brutal kills.
So that shit's still going on. That wasn't just
our main character impaled the dude and then cut him in half from the inside. So he had his sword stuck in him. He's talking to him as the guy's bleeding to death, and then he removes his sword by disemboweling him and cutting the guy in clean in half.
I wasn't expecting that from this show. Okay, let me go watch.
So we've had like arms chopped off, heads. There was another beheading. I should have mentioned that. There's also the beheading in this episode. Like burying people alive, all kinds of murder. What am I supposed to say, man? What am I supposed to say?
That you're coming back again.
Yeah, I'll be here for episode 3. I will be here. I promise you that. Yeah. So I'm happy with what I'm watching right now. I did not have time to circle back to Mushoku Tensei the last like 4 or 5 days, but I will. I'm enjoying what I'm watching, so
there'll be time. So as far as news goes, and this one piece of news kind of just like took me out. How the fuck did Skate get a stage play so fast? Like well, and the only reason I know about it is because the news that like said whatchamacallit, like the cast members are getting COVID, so they're canceling performances. And I'm like, when the fuck did y'all get a stage play? The anime literally just hit a year old. Like like this week, it hit a year old. Or like it premiered on like January 10th or 11th. What? Was it that like was the love really that like crazy for the show? Like I'm not bashing the show at all.
So I don't know a whole lot about Skate, but, and this is something I've observed from just like browsing news over the years, whenever a series comes out where there's a cast of beautiful men, even if the show doesn't do very well, or like the manga or whatever the media around it is not like the biggest thing ever, I've just noticed that they get stage plays relatively quickly. And I don't know if there's like a pipeline for this. Is it like certain production companies also produce like stage works, and so that's just an extra revenue stream? Or if this is more of like another way that is very regular for like anyone to capitalize on beautiful boy stuff. Because when I watch Skate, except for maybe like the skating episodes, like the real downhill stuff, back in my mind I was like, they could probably produce a pretty BL adjacent stage play out of this, and it would come off fine.
Oh yeah,
because anyway, so I'm not like, I don't know anything about this project at all, but I am not surprised that it got that, and probably I wouldn't be surprised if it got a sequel, to be honest.
I think they already kind of announced one, didn't they?
Did they?
I think they said the Skate project is being expanded, so maybe this is part of that expansion. But maybe they didn't announce it.
I think beautiful boy franchises, whatever the if they're in the shonen space, if they're in the josei space, or any fujoshi, anything in between, I think those types of works can so easily like grow laterally, even if they don't get more anime, because there's an underserved, I think, audience for that work.
Yeah, and the other thing that I have, wait, who the hell is that? Oh, that's him. The other thing that I have, it's been so long since I've touched this series, I'm forgetting the characters' names. I have forgotten the characters' names except for Renwell, but apparently Ufotable is doing another like anime promo video for Tales of Arise. And
Oh, interesting.
yeah, that caught my eye because if they're going to do an anime, I want them to kind of change the end a little bit. I want them to kind of move some stuff around, streamline some stuff here, because the second act for Tales of Arise, although I love the game, I enjoyed the ever loving shit out of it. I just wanted to get it over by the end of the second act. I literally was just like, we got to wrap this shit up, y'all. Like, we got to go. We got to go. Loved the first half, really enjoyed it. Didn't really think the second act was going to be as long as it was because of everything that was already covered in the first act. And, I like the premise, but I do think that it can be streamlined and, how do I put it? Like, it not be as droll. Because that's kind of what I got from playing the game. So if this is what we're going to do, because Ufotable did a really good job with Zestiria, they made that storyline actually interesting, because I fell asleep playing Tales of Zestiria like 5 times. Like, and I got the collector's edition for that game and everything. I was hyped, and I fell asleep 5 times, and that's when I knew. I was like, I think it's the game. It's not me. It's the game. I wanted to like it, and I couldn't make it.
I think that's the last Tales game I beat. I'm pretty sure it is.
You beat Zestiria?
Yeah, I think that's the last one that I beat.
I couldn't even beat that shit, man.
The ending is absurd.
Well, I saw that.
Oh, no, I'm sorry, I didn't beat this one. No, I got close to the end of this one. It was what was the series before that? Vesperia 1.
Zillia?
Not Zillia. Zillia was the last one I beat.
Yeah.
And then I skipped Berseria because I don't know what the fuck that was going to be. And then I tried this one, and I was like you. It took me. I had to buy it on 2 separate platforms.
What?
And try it like 4 times, because like I had. It's a long story, but and the end of that story is I found some things that let you like grind really hard, and then like I just allowed my brain to glaze over for most of the story, and then I got towards the end, and I'm like, I never want to see the end of this game, nor do I ever want to play another Tales game after this.
Oh no!
I was so done.
Oh no! Well,
it's the characters. The characters really suck. They just suck.
I mean, they do. Wait, are we talking about Zestiria?
Zestiria. I mean.
Oh, okay. I mean, they're not the most amazing in Arise, but they are definitely way better. Yeah, Zestiria's characters were ass. Like,
yeah.
I don't care about. I forgot his name. That's how his ass is. Like
Sorry.
Sorry, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, come on. But
I sometimes wonder if like the writers for these JRPGs understand human emotions, or if they played so many JRPGs that they think that JRPG human emotions are human emotions.
To be honest, you saying that, it makes me think that they think that, if it worked before, it's just gonna keep fucking working until we hemorrhage money, and then we're gonna scramble and try to do something different, which luckily they are already trying to do things different with Arise.
Yeah. Arise was fun. I just didn't, as soon as I found the plot, first major plot twist, did not encourage me to continue playing. But if the ending is good, I will soldier on, because I enjoy the combat.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, I think it just needs to be refined a little bit as far as like that second act, because the first act, that definitely was, this is this character, and like I actually really fucked with the party by the time that I got to the end, because everyone still had motivations even up until the end. So that was great. The revelation of, like what the fuck is actually going on between the 2 planets. I was like, okay, great. Like, I'm here, but you gotta like end this shit eventually. You can't just like keep like dropping shit and basically be like, we're in the truth train to the end. And it's like, yeah, but like, where the fuck were all the hints for all of this in the first half?
Yeah, you know what it is, and I'm not even putting this on Tales, but they do this a lot. They have these like mopey, sad sack main characters who you know, maybe they talk a lot, maybe they don't, but like I don't, as soon as I lose my interest in the reason why they're mopey and sad, like I'm just screaming at these motherfuckers like, just fucking get over it. You're living in this cartoon world where anything is fucking possible. I can't imagine being just depressed endlessly over some whatever. Like I don't want to be this character. Like I have no interest in living out their story. Like this is not how I would deal with this situation, and everyone around them is, yeah, it's just like they're all aliens, literally aliens, and I cannot recognize the humanity of these people. Whereas like I'm playing Final Fantasy VII and the remake, a story I know very well, which also features a sad sack mopey main character. But the thing is that like everything that's happening around that character is so interesting, and all the characters that are supporting him, especially when you realize that like Tifa knows that Cloud has PTSD, that changes like the entire game. Like everything that you've been experiencing and will experience from that point forward becomes so much more interesting. And they never are able to make that turn in like any of the Tales games, where it's like you're always trying to avert some world disaster, like all JRPGs, but like I just don't want to be these people. I want to be somebody else.
Like, you know, can like start us from somewhere where like I actually give a fuck about the people that are coming along with me and have a connection, which they did do very well in this. And like, especially, I really enjoyed Renwell's, you know, so this isn't a fucking Tales of Arise review. Anyways, make the fucking anime. I'll watch it because it's going to be ufotable anyways.
Tales of Abyss needs to be the blueprint for all the, like, I mean, okay, I'm saying this. I'm saying this. Here's the problem. So a lot of people really, really, really hate Luke, because who's the main character, because in the beginning of both the game and of course the anime, he's brash, he's loud, and he's fucking stupid. Right.
But once you get to the point in the game where
but he actually has real serious character growth and development to the point where you're at like the midway point to the end, he's a cool character that you want to embody and do stuff with.
Yes, yeah, I agree. I actually got to that point where, what the fuck? Oh, where like it was revealed that he's the clone.
Yep.
And like all the shit like that. And I was just like, oh shit. Like what? I was like, you a clone? I was like, the main character is the clone. I was like, wait, we gonna swap you out for the other dude? Like, you coming over here? Like, no. It's like, okay, so that's the actual prince. You're a fucking clone. You're here. Something's off with your fucking teacher. This, that. And like, I remember going through like parts of it where he was processing it, and he was like being nicer to people, like actually taking things in consideration. I was like, oh shit, I like you. But I only played that Tales on the 3DS, and they wanted you to use that like super stiff C stick, and I was like, I my fingers.
That's asking a lot. It's asking a whole lot.
I was like, port this shit back, like just put it on Steam. Is it like just come on, just put it on Steam. If they could put Vesperia like back onto like modern consoles, then they just need to go ahead and bring a bit right on over.
In any case, that's our little aside into JRPG-dom, but
oh yeah, I mean that's all the news I have.
Yeah, I'm the only big piece of news is that the World Trigger season finale is coming. It's just coming next week.
Well, I mean, it was a tsunami.
I know. I know. I'm just complaining because it's so good. I don't want anybody to die.
They're still in the battle, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yes.
I mean, I get it. I get it. At least it's not a whole core.
No, it could be a lot worse, and I'm not against any kind of delays that have to do with like health and safety.
Yeah, because I definitely feel like you're not gonna get a Wonder Egg priority ending. Like y'all already know where the hell y'all going. So.
Right, exactly. So that said, you know, I'm just excited for the end of that season, and hopefully once they air the last episode, we'll find out about the plans for season 4. Which I mean,
doing the animation?
Oh, that's a good question. Not Leiden. I should know this actually. given how much I
Maybe that'll
love
give us maybe
this
that'll give us a
series.
glimpse as to like,
Um,
what they have on their table so far and for the rest of the
yeah,
year.
I think it is. My brain is not working. Um, well, I'll get back around to that
Yeah,
one,
yeah,
but
yeah.
yeah, I know that like Toei is like the parent for it, but there's like a bunch
Oh,
of different companies that are involved in like all the key animation. I think that most of it is Asahi Productions.
okay.
um but there's a lot of like 3D stuff, and yeah, I mean, I guess you can give like most of the credit to Asahi Productions for the key, at least for the key animation, but there's like 4 companies that are collaborating under Toei for this one. So
Toei. Oh boy.
so yeah, that's a lot of good stuff. So yeah, I don't have any other real major news. I was
No.
reminded I can give a semi recommendation, and I mean it very, very loosely because it's not going to be for everybody. But episodes past, we talked about um, some under the radar series that we didn't finish. One of them was Knights and Magic.
Oh
We've
yeah,
talked about that a
the
little
it's
bit.
the manga's ending.
Yeah, so
Was it
in light of
originally
that,
a manga or was it a light novel?
I think it was a light novel, but
Okay.
Uh, I remarked when we had talked about it at that time that I had watched like the first 2 or 3 episodes, and I was just like,
Yeah.
so I was like off it and didn't go back. Well, I actually wound up, I forgot about this actually. I rewatched it maybe like a month or two ago. Um,
Oh.
and I was actually, pleasantly surprised. It was not necessarily more than what I had thought of it the first time I watched it, but there was definitely more of a story. And I had forgotten that like really the trajectory of the show was that because this main character was such a mecha nerd, a gunpla nerd specifically
Yeah.
in his previous life, that like what he wanted to do in this fantasy setting was just make new robots. And so it was like literally
Making real gunpla.
right. In fact, there's a character in Dunbean, which I just finished, who is like the antagonist, who's a Japanese engineer who comes over to the other world, and he starts introducing all these robots and causes the wars to happen, everything else. But he's a villain.
Oh.
And like the Knights and Magic, the main character is basically the good guy version of that character from Dunbean, where he is just a mecha nerd bringing like brand new mecha to this world, completely destabilizing everything. But he is inherently like a good person, and so his intent is to use these technologies and all these abilities that he is getting as a result of being in this other world to just make the coolest mecha possible and stop bad guys. And so does the show ever like rise above that concept? Not really. The finale of the season, the only season I think that will ever be made, is him versus a native guy who's also a like a big time nerd for giant robots, but they have different philosophies about essentially what's cool in a giant robot, even though one guy is a psychopathic mass murderer. So he's
Oh.
definitely a bad guy, but like
Okay.
the ending conflict is that the main character likes Gundam like robots that look like people, and that guy likes giant death machines that look like dragons. So it's like
Oh.
fantasy versus like high-tech
Okay.
robots.
This
And they
actually sounds
literally
very on brand from what
and
I've
they
been
literally
exposed
have like
to.
a an out of body conversation while the final battle is happening, where they're both professing their love for a certain style of robot, I
Robot,
guess you could
yeah.
say.
Is the other
And
guy an isekai person also,
no,
or
he's just a normal, I won't say normal, I mean he
he's
has
a denizen of
abilities.
that world?
He's a denizen of that world who is just very talented at technology. And so it's cool because in the last half of the season, it's kind of like a tit for tat game between those two characters, where one will come up with a solution to a technical problem like flight, and then the other will see what the first guy did and then come up with their own version of doing it. It's not a copy. They use different fundamental ideas to achieve the same result, and that is this constantly escalating power of warfare that is being passed on to the various combatants through their new designs. So it's kind of meta a little bit, but it's cool. You know, I get why.
Is it true that like he uses coding or something like?
Yeah, yes, sort of, yeah.
Sort of, okay.
Like there's a subplot where the power source for all of these giant robots is a very specific nature-based technology that he figures out how to operate like a computer or add abilities to like a computer. So ultimately, yes, he is doing coding, but the way they get there is kind of roundabout. It's not as like direct as in Fire Force when, you know, you see people actually typing real JavaScript code, you know, on a screen to do something.
Yeah.
So it's fine. So that's I give it a recommended watch because it was better than I gave it credit for. If you're not into the concept, then it's still not going to be for you, but it you know, it was worthwhile.
Then I would recommend, I'm not sure if I recommended this before. Whatever, I'm recommended again. I'll recommend Ascendance of a Bookworm, simply because I don't know, it's one of the best, and I call it like a crafting show but it segues into so many different things. Like it's crafting, it's slice of life, it's religious, political, comedic, but it does everything at the show's own pace. Like the show moves at its own pace. So it's not going to basically be like, we're trying to get all this shit in here at once and you're going to understand it. It's literally a slow growth of just watching her go through, deal with shit. And they already have like a plot device to where it's like, you're not overpowered. You're actually so powered. You're actually so powerful that it's literally like eating you from the inside and you're dying. Like, so, you know, you got to figure that out while you also got to figure out a way to get yourself out the fucking slums. Good luck. It's like, it's stuff like that. And, you know, it's just, it's wholesome and it's nice to just like see how she overcomes all these things while simultaneously helping other people and growing her network of like people who literally are just like, I'm just trying to survive and you came through and saved my life. So, or not even saved, but like revolutionized my life. So now, like, what can I do for you? And it has one of my favorite like isekai tropes where the person brings in like modern day like things to get ahead. So the first thing that she started doing was like making air conditioner. And so people were literally like, what the fuck? Why does your hair look like that? Oh my God, my hair hasn't looked like that since I was fucking born. Like, are you kidding me? Like, what are you doing? And so she ended up using that and like making a contract with a merchant to teach her how to read and all like, and it just kept building and building, because the end game for her is to read books. Like she literally was like a bibliophile in the real world, and books are not available to the poor in her world. So she either has to work her way up through society, or she has to like find out, you know, how high do I have to go to access a book? And then also she's like, well, I like books, but you niggas should like books too, but you can't read. So I'm gonna try to fix that. So it's so good. It's definitely not like a, oh my God, I'm so stressed, like what's gonna happen next. It's more so just like a, all right, she gonna figure this shit out. I just don't know how she gonna figure it out. And then also you learning stuff about like the real world, you know, like what kind of wood, how is paper made? Like I still don't remember, but like it's nice to know, like, oh, okay, that's how you make that, that's how you bind it the book. And then going beyond the books into like mercantile stuff, where it's like it was similar to like Assassin, but they just go way more into detail in Bookworm, behind like the science of the products, why is it marketable to like multiple people, why you shouldn't only market to women, like, you know, things like that. So highly recommend.
Oh, I forgot to mention I did watch the first Ari Ferretta season 2 episode.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I did actually watch that. No, I think it's good. this episode solidified more of like the harem aspect, I think, than maybe other episodes will, as
I
just a
feel like
result.
nothing really happened, but I was
No,
so so happy to see the hero bum the fuck out. I was like, yeah, you got your ass embarrassed,
that's
nigga. I
true.
was like, sit your ass at that table and let it soak in. Like, you are embarrassment.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God. He was going through it.
Some, yeah, he was. I actually got a good couple of laughs out of that episode as well. In that scene in the car, which
Oh yeah, well,
uh,
I like how the Bunny girl is just like, you are so mean to me only. Like, oh my God.
when they realized that that little girl was just manipulating everybody, and I was like, yeah, like
Yeah.
that's. I don't know if this is a common um thing in like writing, because like my experience writing for like TV and plays is very informal, so I haven't taken a lot of classes. I've just had to do it. But I was watching a breakdown of a very bad show, High Guardian Spice, which we one day
Oh
we can talk
boy.
about the
Actually,
post-mortem on
yeah.
all that.
Yeah.
But they were mentioning like one of the big problems in that dialogue and why in that show didn't work was that you kind of have this like clipped speech where like if you and I are chatting, we have words and things that we're going to add to a sentence to like just make it feel more natural, make it feel like, it's just two normal people having a conversation. So it could be like colloquial expressions or short statements and other things that are just formatted to sound natural. But then there's a
Yeah.
way in which you can like write dialogue that is too natural, doesn't communicate any strong ideas. It's just boring, or it has no emotional content, story content. It's just kind of sits there, and then when the actors get to it, it doesn't bounce. It doesn't have like a life
No
to
matter
it. It's
how
just
talented they are, it just really
exactly. And
doesn't.
I feel like one of the recurring positive themes of all the stuff that I've enjoyed, including Ari Ferretto, which is kind of an older style of like storytelling and show because it's an older series.
Yeah.
What I like about it is that when all the voice actors are in their bag, they do bounce off of each other in a very kinetic way
I
that has
agree.
energy. And actually, I think it's probably why people like Konosuba, from what I understand, is that like it's really the
Oh,
VAs
flaw.
having
Oh
this
yeah.
amazing time just fooling
The
around. I
back and
felt that
forth is
way.
amazing. And
I
yeah.
felt that chemistry in Ari Ferretta. I felt that chemistry in the Genius Prince staff, especially between the two main
Mm.
characters. I felt the same. Like, so I think even Bisco, like I feel like the when Pawu and Bisco are on in the screen together, or
Oh,
Jabi's voice actor doing whatever, like there's a chemistry that's there, and there's like a lightness to the way all these scripts kind of like they have some colloquial stuff, they have some like info dump things, some things that are like very culturally specific to the show, and they just work. So I'd forgotten about that, but I remember enjoying what they were doing in Ari Ferretta from a voice cast point of view. I'm wondering, there's no way to like go look up like what are shows that had voice cast that they all got along and had a great time. Like there's no index for
yeah.
that.
That's more so just like you gotta like watch it and know, or at least
Right.
has a decent reputation, and you're like, actually, this is probably why this show is fucking popular.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I
Ari
now I
Ferretta.
want more of that. Where can I find more?
Well, I just like how they like set up the season with the glimpse of the goddess or whatever the fuck the girl was, and then also you got the subplot, or not but you got the more immediate like demon guy who's coming after him. But also they dropped the hint that that demon guy has already conquered a labyrinth. So I'm just
Yeah.
like, okay, so that means
Yeah.
he's going to be an actual threat, because it's going to be a higher level magic that Hajime has not gotten a chance to fucking learn about yet.
There you go.
Thank you.
So yeah, so I'd forgotten about that, but that was another thing that I'd watched as well. But yeah, I think that's it. That's all we got
Yeah,
this week.
that's all we got. And then we can charge it back on up next week and bang it out. It'll be a lot longer and we'll have other things. But if you guys have anything in particular that you want us, to discuss, you can hit us at animesavants@gmail.com. Or you can just hit us up on the regular socials, anime_savants on Twitter, or just anime savants on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, because this is in YouTube format. And a lot of y'all are starting to watch the YouTube more. So
Much appreciated.
thank
Much
you for that.
appreciated.
Yeah, like I'm definitely looking at that, and like I mean, I know initially that the YouTube channel, like the subs are there because of the Ghost Stories reactions, which they're
Yes.
not over, but I can understand some people basically being like, bitch, this isn't what we're here for. So I get that. But for those of you who are like, you know, watching the YouTube and, you know, seeing all the like, you know, the circles and the stuff in the background, stuff like that, you know, pop it on your TV.
All right, Jordan's fancy editing that is
fancy my ass,
making it look good.
But
yeah, you can hit me up on Twitter at Neural Handshake. I have feelings about things that are happening on Twitter today, but I'm gonna boil it down to just go out and get vaccinated, guys. Get vaccinated. We need it. We all want to live life. You know, to connect it back around stuff that we care about. There are some anime movies that want to premiere this year. It ain't gonna happen unless y'all are safe in these streets.
I mean, it's cute for y'all that went out and saw Belle. Cute for y'all. Well, I wasn't going. And what's the next movie that's supposed to be coming out soon? There's another popular one in America.
Yes.
It's not Jujutsu Kaisen.
We don't know when that's happening.
Yeah, we don't know. We
don't know. But that's a perfect. We can just leave it at that example. I would love to be able to go see Jujutsu Kaisen in a theater. Okay, but instead
they're gonna push it back like they did Demon Slayer.
Yeah,
because this shit's surging, and they're like, we want to make money when everyone's gonna come. So everybody ain't gonna come to this shit if like the cases are skyrocketing. So yeah,
but I just don't want to have any more conversations with people about like fake vaccine cards and natural immunity and nothing. Just go get vaccinated.
Y'all know the moment that shit gets uploaded to like an actual database, you in trouble, right?
Let's just not even play. Let's not be let's all work together.
Time? You know who has the time? The government officials, they have the time.
Right.
They literally, it may not be today, like the PPP people. They getting arrested. Don't be like them.
Mm-hmm.
Like
don't
2
be
years
like them.
Later, they're like knock, 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 like you thought, but you literally were just, you know, you were lower on the list. But and
y'all out here telling on yourselves, talking about, oh, you got your fake vaccine card for $250, outing the
dumber
person.
Than the people who sell weed on dating apps.
Like, and then outing the people you got it from. And all this other stuff. Like, let's just, instead of I'm not
like
coming
that girl
down
on Twitter who bragged about it, and then the FBI, she disappeared in 24 hours.
We just like, there's a lot to be said there. I'm just saying we can all work together on this one. It is not outside of our power, both as a community and as a country, to just stop. Just go get vaccinated. Please.
I mean, because I already saw an article about a possible fourth dose, so you know.
Whatever, just go. It's free.
Come on, catch on up.
It's free. There's no microchip. Just do it,
y'all. This is the microchip. It's literally in
yes. Thank you. We all got the microchip. Yes.
Like, come on.
Yeah. So okay. That's it. Anyway.
Bye.
Peace out, y'all.